Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show, brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. We have a very special guest on the show today from Tennessee. We co-starred together in a short film called Chance last year, which is currently on the festival circuit and, in fact, has been nominated for Best Short Film at the Content Christian Media Conference, and that's going to be in Weatherford, Texas, at Capernaum Studios on September 25th. That is when the award banquet occurs. And our special guest on the show today is Carter Nelms. Carter, how are you?
Doing great. How's it going?
I am doing great. I want to tell you guys a little bit about Carter. He started across film and TV, particularly in independent Christian and faith-based projects. His work on screen includes Young Warriors with Jeremy Piven, The Pursuit with Janine Turner, The Servant with Eric Estrada, Kevin Sorbo, and John Schneider, Vindication, created by Jared O'Flaherty. They've got 4 seasons that you can see on PureFlix and Redeem TV and Angel Studios TV. And they did a standalone movie called Vindication, Search and Rescue. Carter was in that film. He was also in Cubic Zirconia, Dot Connor, Web Detective, The Solution, written and directed by my main man, Andrew Bullard, and Miracle on Shelby Street. Again, folks, ladies and gentlemen, actor Carter Nelms. What's up, Carter?
Not too much.
Yeah. My friend, it's great to have you on the show, man. We had the opportunity to work together last year in a short film that I wrote and produced and directed, along with my main man, Bijan Faramarsi. And we got after it. We're in the festival circuit right now. I want to give a quick shout out to those that participated in the film: Venus Monique, Spence Otto, Fernando Mora, Stephanie Peterson, Haley Knudsen, Ethan Larson, Gabriel Santiago, Skeeta Jenkins, and as I mentioned, the DP Bijan Faramarsi. So we had a chance to work together on this film, dude. We worked on it, and it came out really, really well. And we're moving and grooving on the festival circuit. Now, since we did this film, Carter, since I got a chance to write and direct this film, what was the dynamic like for you as an actor?
Dynamic as far as the two of us working together or working on this particular character or the world as a whole?
Like co-starring with the actual writer of the film.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, how did that make you, did it make it easier for you to do the film, dive into the characters, or did it feel like extra pressure?
In a way, I think it probably made it easier. I don't know that I've sat and consciously thought about that, but
okay.
When you're working on a character and in a scene and you are working with your partner as the actor, but you've also got the writer and director, especially on something that is original. And so this is the first time it's been brought to, whether that's screen or stage, brought into production, then the writer there's an honesty that the actor has to have to the writer, but there's also a lot of freedom within that without compromising honesty to that writer. Nonetheless, you're coming into understanding of the writing, and as an actor, you're interpreting that into the performance.
Absolutely.
Within that, still, the director is going to be making decisions. And so you may bring something as an actor that is not necessarily what the director wants. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means one director may do things this way and one may do it that way. There may be multiple that are correct. The director is the captain who ultimately decides, here's how we're going to do it. Somebody has to wear that hat. So working with you, now that you ask that question, in hindsight, my scene partner, the writer, and the director were all in one person. And so when I needed to consult and ask questions, regardless of which of those it fell into, I really only had to come to one person. So I'd say, if anything, it made it a little bit easier.
Yes, it's an interesting question because not often do you get an opportunity to star in a film with the writer and producer of the film. So it was just something I was curious about. There's the billboard of her film. That's Carter and I on the billboard of Chance. And this film is about a young man that was sexually assaulted as a boy. He grows up and becomes a detective, with an anger problem because he has not disclosed this horrific event that occurred in his life with anyone, not even his wife. And he has an issue with suspects, and he's overreacting. He's beating them up. Police brutality, quite frankly, and honestly, is what has developed with this officer. And now he's on his last chance. And he ends up being partnered with this Bible-thumping detective that no one really wants to work with, who does stand-up comedy at night with a dog. And then that's where the narrative begins. I want to show a scene that you did with Skeeta Jenkins, who was playing the role of chief of police. And I just want to give an audience a snippet of our film Chance.
Come in. You're a good cop, Riker. But this is the end of the rope. I should pull your badge. But instead, you're getting a new partner.
Chief, I've been with Sanchez for 5 years.
You want suspension? Patrol duty? You're being partnered with Detective Terry Washington. Clean record, bit of a holy roller, but maybe that's what you
Washington,
need.
Chief, come on.
You want redemption? Start here, or else you're done. Do I make myself clear? Then get out of my office.
And that's where the narrative pretty much begins. You know, again, you've committed an act that's over the top, unacceptable for a police officer, and this is your last shot. You're about to enter into a new phase of your career. But it was an intense role that you had an opportunity to play. Actors always bring something to a role that isn't written on the page. And, you know, you had an opportunity to do that. What was something you decided to bring to your character that wasn't explicitly in the script?
Good question. Let's see. Actually, when I think to this, I go to those big picture things. Now it's been a year since we've shot. You know, there's a scene with his family. I believe it's, I think there's only one quick little scene after this one you showed, and then we get to see him interacting with his family. And with each, with that, you get a window not only into his personal world a little bit, but also into 3 new characters all of a sudden. And it's not just about any individual character. You have this whole family dynamic. Every single connection between these people is a relationship. And so you have to establish, exactly. And like a real family, even 2 different, I'm a twin, actually. I have a fraternal twin. And so we were born, you know, the exact same day, very similar growing up and whatnot. My brother's relationship with my mom and dad is going to be a different thing, to use a general word, than my own relationship with my mom and dad. Not in any better or worse way or anything like that. It's just, you know, every friend you have is something different to you than another friend. And so with that, you kind of establish, what is it like? What is it like with my daughter? How involved am I with her extracurricular activities? That kind of thing. Same with my son and his sports. There's an element, just to give a little bit, where I've missed going to see one of his games, and you start kind of filling in. Yeah, what is it like on the day-to-day? How big of a deal is this? Is this something that's happened before? Is this the first time I've done something like this? And that was a part I think I had a lot of fun with. In particular, was fleshing out the family.
Here's some fun shots from the actual film here. There's you coming through the door to greet your family. And there's a shot of us at Content Christian Media conference from last year. And here's a shot that we did with Stephanie Peterson and some of the crew members there. There's Big Spence Otto, who was actually a backup quarterback for Army years ago, and big strong guy. He's there. And again, we're going to be at Christian Content again for Chance. I was there last year for another film called Unknown Kingdom, but this film here, was very intense, a very serious theme. And you had a chance to work with Venus Monique. She played your wife. She's in Vindication. I believe she was also in Search and Rescue, correct?
She was, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, yeah.
Did you have any familiarity with Venus prior to Search and Rescue?
I knew who she was. I had
Okay.
not met her before working on Vindication.
Yeah. Well, she had a chance to play your wife in this film. What was it like working with Venus?
Well, despite Vindication being a bigger project in terms of runtime, I actually only had technically one scene with her, and I'm actually on my way out of the scene as soon as she walks in. So I really didn't get to work a whole ton with her.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. So here we actually got to have one-on-one scene. And of course you said it's a husband-wife relationship. So it's these two
Yes.
characters, obviously very close relationship. And so that was, I guess this one, as far as what that was like, she had a way of, I love it when actors do this when they're not on camera, even if they're completely behind the camera, and all they really have to do is give lines to respond to. And even when doing that, she was saying so much with her face and her eyes.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't want to give too much away, but she knows something when I come home.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And she had this look on her face that was not necessarily like I'm about to shoot a hole in your head, but was definitely like, you make you do that right there, clear your throat, like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to face this. But like, she doesn't want to bring it up in front of the kids and all this, and her face just loaded with this, even when she's not on camera, and it affects you as the actor too. You step in, and you and me right now, for example, we don't necessarily know what we're going to do. I don't know the exact words that are coming out of my mouth next. As an actor, you technically do because you've got your lines down. But when you're behaving freely in the moment, you really, really don't. And so when
Yeah.
the other actor is in that kind of listening feedback loop, then both of you are doing that and responding naturally, and you don't really know what you're going to do in the moment. And so that's what I remember most from her. And it wasn't always in her big outward behaviors or her lines. Oftentimes it was just
Yeah.
with the look. It would be different every take. It wouldn't be the same every single take. And that's always a lot of fun.
And that's what Venus brought to the film. She's a very seasoned pro as an actress, and when you can speak without saying anything is another level of acting. And she's really good at that. And I think that's one thing that American actors do better than anyone, is being able to convey a message really with very few words. American actors are masters at that. Now, if you look at England, they're better actors on stage. The enunciation is huge on stage, and but when it comes to film, there's just a nat. And I'm talking about the best actors. There's something about American actors that allows them to convey strong messages without saying very many words. And Venus Monique, as you accurately described, did that quite well in our film Chance. Now, you and I were the core members, the principal players in this film. So you and I had a chance to bounce ideas off of each other and, kind of get into some really good dialogue. And through that experience between us, what do you think was the driving tension or bond between Terry Washington and Stephen Riker?
I want to be meticulous again about not giving too much away.
Yeah.
But with that scene that we just saw, Riker is assigned to Terry Washington as an alternative to losing his badge. So he doesn't have much option. The reason that's punishment, so to say, or at least discipline, is because of how off-putting he is.
Yes.
And I think the chief was very much aware. It's not just that he's off-putting, but I think he's aware of Washington's principles. At least, when you talk about things the script doesn't necessarily state up front or outright. It read that way to me. that not that the chief is trying to convert me or anything like that, but deep down, Riker has questions about God.
Yes.
Riker doesn't like having that forced on him.
Right.
And Terry isn't even necessarily forceful so much as he is seemingly, to Riker anyway, completely unaware of how it's coming off, of constantly babbling on about God and how wonderful God is. And as it starts to irk, it's not just that it irks, it's that you're not picking up what I'm putting down about, can we please talk about something else for 2 seconds?
Right. And that's kind of where the interest in the relationship comes into play, because you've got, and we've all met them in real life, these insufferable Bible thumpers that are intent on making you understand that they're about God. For the 5th time, my friend, I got that. Yes, I heard you. Anyway, so we throw a little bit of comedy in there, which is really nice. I like that. My wife actually suggested that we throw the dog on stage as well during one of the scenes, so it was really good. But one more thing I wanted to ask you about this film in particular, because we want to dive into your acting career in total. And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the show is brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. So every project changes us a little bit as artists. The experience changes our personality and our professionalism. Just because of the experience, we're going to get a little bit better at our craft. What is something you took away from working on this film together, Chance, that carried into your subsequent acting roles?
One of the biggest challenges for this one, and you've already disclosed what Riker's carrying, his secret that he hasn't shared with anybody.
Pretty intense issue,
yeah. And when your character has something, I don't want to say traumatic even, but when your character has something heavy, let's say that you haven't gone through yourself, maybe you'll have some experiences you can pull from, but you may be left to your imagination, which isn't a negative. Most of us can go deeper with that than we think. If you're ever sitting watching a movie and you feel yourself brought in, I think people don't realize how much of the acting process they're engaging with when they're watching a movie, when they're feeling genuinely angry at the bad guy. And at no point do they think any of this is real. But your emotions, your body feels it, It sounds paradoxical, but this bad guy that has just ticked you off for 2 hours at this point, he's not real. There's not any part of you that's fooled, but you're so in it, And so that was maybe to date one of the most challenging past experiences to bring into a character.
Yeah. I commend you for doing this role. A lot of actors, I won't necessarily say a lot. There are some actors that would scoff at a role like this, that would rather not do a role like this, which I feel is one that's very relevant in our society today. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it does need to be talked about. And without giving away too much in the film, I mean, it morphs itself into a real problem where we actually do trace a human trafficking ring here that's active in this particular area. We're going to do a feature film next year. We're going to be working on a full-length feature film next year, because the short film kind of teases you. And you're kind of like, okay, come on, don't stop this now. Please keep going. So we're going to do the full-length feature film. We're going to work on that. Currently, I'm working on a film right now called Unknown Kingdom, and that's going to be a big deal. But we're going to make Chance a feature length. We're going to make that a reality. And I just want to give a shout out to Vision Faramarzi, who shot the film. He was terrific, and he just did a great job of just framing the scenes and all of that. Again, we were nominated for Best Short Film at Content Christian Media Conference at Capernaum Studios in Weatherford, Texas. That's coming up September 25th. And folks, if you're just interested in going to the banquet and seeing quality faith-based films, get your tickets. Check it out. It's going to be a great time. And Carter, you're going to be actually helping out with content this year, correct?
That's correct. I'll be there for the full week.
Now, you had an opportunity to be with Jared O'Flaherty in his standalone film, Search and Rescue, and you got a chance to work with him and Todd Terry, Venus Monique, as we mentioned earlier. What was that experience like for you?
Well, super cool to speak generally. No, it yeah. There were not... There's so many people I know well from that now, and it's weird to think back because I didn't know anybody before going in. I knew some people that had worked on it, but that had worked on the show Vindication, but none of them worked on this film. Thinking back, I'm checking myself, so maybe I don't think I'm missing anybody. Very familiar with the show and the world and who some of the people were, but stepping in, yeah. And so stepping in,
Hey, Fernando. Fernando got a chance to be you guys play partners in Chance. What's up, Fernando?
I love it. Yeah, Vindication had a interesting balance of, in the film world, you can do a lot of different stuff, small, big, short film, feature film, whatnot. And it had a lot of what it had gained, I guess, professionally as a show that had been on the air for 4 years. You could tell there was a structure and a professionalism that kept things moving along. But I've been on some, crazy large sets with massive, Amazon money, and it's business, and Vindication doesn't cease to be business. It doesn't compromise that, but it had such a heart and a spirit around the set. And I really loved the balance that it had there. That was what I loved most about it. As far as working on it, it was a whole lot of fun. It was only 3 days of shooting for me total. 2 of them were in this office setting, and I kind of played a little bit of a dorky outsider, and it was exciting getting in. And I was, I knew Todd Terry, recognized him from, I was a big Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul fan, that kind of thing. And
right.
So that alone was just a whole lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I'd say most. It was really refreshing because, a set that's not professional or that's doesn't have a good spirit about it, either one of those things can cause you to suffer. And it was really, really rich in both, just especially rich.
I want to give a shout out to Fernando Mora, who just chimed in, and good evening indeed, Fernando. He was your partner initially in the film, and you lost him and had to transition over to Terry Washington. But Fernando is working on a film right now, a feature-length film, and he's not going to be able to join us for our gathering at Content Christian Media, but he did a great job, and he's a tremendous actor. And I look forward to working with them down the road in the future. Also, Stephanie Peterson, who played a very pivotal role in the film. She wasn't in the film long, but she's also, Carter, another one of those types of actors that can say volumes without saying a whole lot. Yeah, with her expressions and her body movements, and she can tell you exactly what she's saying. Matter of fact, she said very little, and that came out of her mouth, but her actions and her facial expressions, it told an entire book.
And that's a scene that really, really called for that too, heavily. And it's so rich on her face all the way through it.
And also your kids were played by Haley Knudsen and Ethan Larson, 2 young folks who did a tremendous job. Haley, you're going to be seeing Haley Knudsen in a lot of films coming up down the road. So stand by for her, ladies and gentlemen. And also young Ethan Larson. Pretty impressed with young Ethan. What do you say?
I would agree. Both of them. Yeah, it was just out of the gate. I remember doing the first take of kids running up to greet dad at home, and it almost just like knocked me off my feet. They were just so ready to go on the first take.
Oh, man.
No,
they were ready to go.
runway.
They were ready to go. Oh, I miss being young. Because man, they were ready to go, which I love that. And of course, Skeeta Jenkins, who played the police chief in this film, wasn't in the film that long either. But I just showed you the scene that he was in. Powerful. He just kind of filled the room. You know, the way the two of you bounced off of each other there, the personalities did a tremendous job. And also a shout out to Gabriel Santiago, who was in the opening of the film. So great film. Like I said, we're on the festival circuit right now. And once we are done with that run, we're going to see where we go from that and get it released to the public so everyone can see our short film Chance. And then later on, we'll have a full-length feature film, hopefully by, the end of 2027, the beginning of 2028 is what we're going to be focusing on. Let's talk about, Carter, your beginning in this world of acting. You spent years in software engineering before making the pivot into acting. What was the exact moment, Carter, or that spiritual feeling that you got where you realized that maybe God was calling you to step away from that and get into acting?
Truthfully, that came over a year before my last job came to an end. And I say came to an end because I was at the last job for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
And a whole long story with that I feel weird getting into it sometimes, but it didn't end great. It didn't end the way I wanted it to. And it was a little over a year before that the acting kind of kicked off. I'm someone who's made the mistake before of wanting something to be what God was telling me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore saying that that's what that was, that I thought God was leading me this way. And deep down in my heart, didn't really believe that. That's a good way to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was very meticulous on this one. I didn't want to do that. And I've realized too, that's not always an instantaneous thing either. It can be a constant check-in, and you've got to submit yourself and sometimes go, hey, I know he is. This isn't a time to ask questions. It's time for me to go. But early on, there was a moment where there was someone specific who first really planted the seed in me to get started. And there was a shift moment. I had expressed some interest, and this was someone whose voice I would give authority to this, who I also knew wouldn't just give a hollow, oh, that was pretty good, unless she meant it. And so I shot this self-tape with her. It was her idea to let's just try this and see what you can do. And we did, and she came out of it going, you need to be doing this. I'm just I don't know what I was going to say if that was bad, but that was good. That was actually, we got to teach some headshots and, set you up on Actors Access and all this stuff that just sat in me. And I, at first, when you asked the question, wanted to say that it was that moment, but I think it was earlier than that. I think there was something in my spirit that felt that already. Mm-hmm. Now that moment was a shifting moment. That was the moment that I suddenly got the drive, and I sat on it still for a month or so. I wanted to kind of test myself. I'm someone who, if I'm looking at making an expensive purchase, then I will avoid it for as long as I can and see if it's still bothering me if I continue to not make it. And sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. And if it doesn't, then I can go into it with confidence. So I'd sat on it for about a month or so, and that was when I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I jumped in, and I guess the rest is history from there. But it really was before that seed was even planted. There was a certain curiosity, and in a weird way, a little piece of me that almost saw some of it coming way before it made sense.
Yeah. Well, I think you chose the right profession. You are a natural, and it's a God-given talent. That's very obvious. A lot of times things happen to us that we don't quite understand, but we know deep down it's God's nudge. We feel that it is, and then as we lean into that, we start to realize, in fact, that you're doing something God-given, and it was what you were built to do. You were designed to do. You were called to do that, and thank God you answered the call. As I said, it was great working with you on Chance, and another actor in that film, Spence Otto, who's the big guy who was the backup quarterback at Army. He was, speaking of Spence, he played a role in this film too, that it's very hard to find actors that are willing to play the bad guy. And then there are levels to it. It's like, not everyone wants to play the bad guy, and they're hard to find, particularly when you're talking about a faith-based film. It's just like, where are you going? Everybody wants to be a good guy. We're all good. Yeah, but there are bad people in life, and someone has to play those roles. And Spence is someone who actually relishes that. And what's beautiful is he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, they always are. all the bad guy actors are the nicest people.
I don't know if you remember the film Fargo. Do you remember Fargo?
I am familiar with it. I've actually never seen it.
It was
Coen
done
brothers.
years. It was, yeah. Say that again. It was who?
Oh, Coen brothers.
The Coen brothers, exactly. It was done heck in the 2010s or something like that.
Yeah. But
the bad guy in that film, anytime you see this guy, I can't remember. I wish I could call his name. If anyone knows it, just type it in for me. But he's always a bad guy. He's great at being the bad guy. He's great at being creepy. But he's a good dude. That's his forte.
Yeah.
And it's needed to tell a story.
Yeah.
And so that being said, it just a real shout out to him. But as I say that, as a faith-based actor, as a Christian actor, we have to determine how we're going to take a role if offered. We have to delineate that. And as a Christian actor, navigating that world, how do you evaluate scripts, Carter?
Good question. And by this, do you mean how do I determine like what kind of characters I'm willing to do, or what kind of projects I'm willing to do, or how do I get into
depending
preparing?
on the character that you're being asked to play? How do you decide whether or not you're going to take the offer?
Okay. Before I consider the specific character, what I consider first is the project as a whole, because there may be a character that I don't have issue with, but the project itself, there may be something I'm not okay with. Likewise, something, you might have a script that's very G or PG rated that doesn't have anything explicit or offensive or anything that really turns me off. But every work of art, I don't think this is even limited to just scripts, to just stories, but it certainly is true of stories. Every work of art is about something. It is saying something. And so I guess at least to keep it within a script, if I'm telling a story, there's a point to the story.
Yeah.
And I've seen stories out there that have a point that's not true. And maybe the person making it believes that it's true. And I think it's important that we don't go out there preaching things that are not true.
Yes.
So that's the first thing I consider is, what is this about?
Yeah.
Not just oh, it's about a king who no. Like what is the point of the story? I remember 15 years ago when Game of Thrones got big, and this isn't to say what's good, what's bad, whatever, but I never could get into it. And I remember some friends touting it, saying, "Oh, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, but it's a TV show."
Okay.
I'm like, man, this can't be any more opposite, because I saw some of it, and you can tell so much of the worldview of George R.R. Martin from the stories, and that's not some unique thing. It's not like he's intentionally filling it up in some special way that other authors don't. You can always tell. You can do the same thing with J.R.R. Tolkien, and those worldviews couldn't be much more opposite. And so to look at those and go, oh, it's the same. It's like, no, you're looking at the skin here. It's fantasy. Yes, I get that. It's medieval fantasy, but that's where it stops. It'd be like looking at two people that look similar and going that they're the same. It's like, no, No, this one's an accountant with a wife and 3 kids, and this other one killed a man and hadn't worked a day in his life. Whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's like to look on the outside and go, oh, it's this medieval fantasy and there's magic. Misses the point. That's not what it's about. The hero's journey has been reskinned countless times.
yeah.
The hero's journey, I'm going to speak from opinion here, but I'm adamant on this. The hero's journey points to Jesus Christ, and that's why it resonates with the human soul.
There you go, brother. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that story, though, I remember seeing a little side-by-side comparison about the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and the first Harry Potter movie. And, the stuff about comparing Hagrid and Obi-Wan coming in and telling this character that you're actually this, you have this special power, come with me on this adventure and all this stuff. It's like, well, yeah, they are the same story. And neither one of them originated it. It's not that one copied the other. It's a story as old as time. That's the same thing, and it doesn't matter if it's modern day magic or if it's space wizards or if it's real world and there's no magic. It does not matter. It's the same story, and it's saying something.
Yes, 100%. And you and I have a common friend in Andrew Bullard. And you guys did a film called The Solution. Which can be seen now on Amazon Prime. So, folks, if you've never seen The Solution, you want to see a good faith-based film, go to Amazon Prime and rent that tonight and check it out with the family. My wife and I sat down and watched The Solution. We thought it was a very good film.
I love
it. And it was an emotionally charged film. It was a very relatable film for people with aging parents. And then even in my film, it was very intense. And for you to play that role, how do you prepare spiritually and emotionally for roles like that are, maybe redemption focused and that type of thing, but it's going to require for you to dig deep? How do you prepare to do roles like that?
Well, let me ask, I guess, a little more on that to understand. Roles, you say focused on redemption specifically, or roles like that, meaning what exactly?
Well, roles that involve redemption, maybe not you per se acting that out, but being a part of it, of the story pointing to redemption.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that the preparation for the character would be a whole ton different. Looking at these two works, there is a restoration that takes place in The Solution. And there is in Chance. Chance is kind of kicking off this larger story, but it's very clear that that's part of the narrative of the of the story here.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, my two characters are very different characters across those two films. And so with the case of Marshall in The Solution, I really approach it from Marshall's world. You read the whole script. You always read the whole script because you don't even know how that can possibly inform you.
Yeah.
You might get information about your character specifically in scenes that you're not in, or other characters that are in your world. It might be information your character knows. It might not. There's no limit to what that could be. So you're always reading the whole script, and you're always bringing all of that in. Marshall is my character in The Solution. Marshall is a somewhat aloof character. I definitely intentionally brought a lot of that in. There comes a degree to which he kind of knows a little bit of what's going on, but for the most part, he's just not that plugged in to the main character's storyline.
Yeah.
Not that doesn't matter to approaching the character, but that's kind of part of his function. He receives a certain blessing at the beginning that maybe kind of ought to have gone to Andrew's character, and to Marshall, he just doesn't care. He just brings that in. So for him, so for him as the actor, I'm not going into it thinking, at least in the scene, thinking about how Andrew was supposed to get this instead of me. To me, I'm just, oh, wow, this is awesome. This is so great. We just total obliviousness, Then you have Chance up here. And again, both of these have a redemption, restorative narrative going along with them. And with this character, now he's the one who's most experiencing that. And you certainly wrote both of these characters with strengths and flaws as harsh foils to each other. So he's not the only character in the movie that has change to go through by any means, but
Yeah.
he has some very explicit, unhealed. He's got those experiences from his past that he has not faced and has not done the work on, and it's heavily coming out in his work now. And so in this case, there's no obliviousness, there's no ignoring it. It's something that's very consciously brought into the preparation for a character like that.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with actor Carter Nelms, who is in the film Chance, a film that I had a chance to write and direct last year. He's also in Vindication, Search and Rescue. This show, by the way, also brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. I wanted to also ask you about faith-based filmmaking in general, because a lot of people out there still, even though it has dramatically improved with the Irwin brothers, the Kendrick brothers, Kevin Sorbo's been in God's Not Dead, groundbreaking film. Now, when it's done 3 iterations of God's Not Dead and made a big impact at the box office for the general public. But we've still got a ways to go, I feel, to reach the secular audience out there and start really reeling them in. And when I look at the Bible, when I look at what Jesus Christ can do to change narratives, I think there's a wealth of an opportunity to wallop the secular world and bring them in. I don't think that we've quite figured out how to master that. God's put it in our hands, and it's just a matter of getting. I mean, you read the Bible. The Bible is epic all by itself.
Yes, highly.
Epic. Anyway, that being said, I don't want to get carried away because I love the Bible. The Bible's amazing. But my point is, how can faith-based filmmakers, in your opinion, Carter, elevate the storytelling aspect of it so that it resonates more with secular audiences?
It's a phenomenal question. I think there are going to be films that are made for Christians.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been involved with the Kendrick Brothers movies. I've always interpreted those as generally being geared towards people who are already believers. Right. Maybe not exclusively, but there's a lot of. The last one I saw was the last one that came out was The Forge, and there was a lot of elements in there that you understand if you've been a Christian for some degree of time, put it that way, as opposed to being a new Christian. And you hear that and you see that this was definitely made by people who have been. And I think we need that. I do think we need that. In the same way we need dramas and we need comedies and we need action and we need Shakespeare.
Right.
We just, no one thing is going to be the one size fits all kind of a package. Just last night, I'm actually in Memphis at the moment. There was a film made in Memphis that is releasing this weekend that I was not involved with myself, but it's called Elijah Peel. Does that ring a bell with you?
It does. I think I came across it today. I think it's opening in theaters. It opened today, right?
Today, yes, today.
I believe it did.
Yeah. And this film is very much a Christian film in this way. It's very much in that thread, but it goes into a little more mess, I would say, than a lot of films of that genre do. And some people may feel differently on these things, but Kevin Seppi was the writer director, and he brought so much of his own testimony, his own story into this character, very much intentionally. And I think he knows something would have been lost if he weren't willing to show the mess.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so, again, there's a place for everything, but there's a lot of clean out there. There's a lot of really clean and nice. And sometimes, if you ever really get in with somebody and get to know their story, it's not going to be clean.
No, it's not.
And so, we need clean. We need an accessible, family-friendly level. But people need to know, hey, that stuff that we how do we go, we wouldn't even put this on camera. I'm not saying we need, blood, guts, gore, sex, all this kind of stuff on screen there, but It needs to be known, like, hey, all of these elements that are these are parts of people's real stories. These are parts of the stories of people who Christ has reached out to.
Exactly.
And so we don't want to send the message. I'm not saying we're in danger of this. I'm just saying we don't want to send the message that, hey, if you've done something that's kind of, like this, if that's your world, then maybe this Jesus thing isn't for you. That's not the point.
Yeah. There's a film out there by Mark Wahlberg. I think Mark did this film in 2022. It's called Father Stew. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not, no.
It's a true story, actually. And it's a guy that came to the faith through Catholicism. And a lot of times we, in the Christian church or the Protestant world have issues with Catholics. And some of those issues are well-founded. But at the same time, Christ is the focus. So I myself personally, I don't totally kick Catholics out. I mean, I think they're saved too. Anyway, that being said, Father Stew's messy. I mean, dude, it is just messy, and it's actually funny. I mean, it's so messy, Carter, that it's funny. But the ending, the culmination of it all, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah,
it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
and Mark Wahlberg, being who he is, obviously he did well at the box office. Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
but Mark Wahlberg took it upon himself to make a point about God.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to get too far off the topic here. The topic is faith-based filmmaking. I think we're still, and we're getting out of this.
Yeah.
But we're still a bit too stuffy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we can loosen up a lot more. We don't have to sin while doing it.
Yeah,
but we can loosen up a lot more. Is my point.
Yeah, I think there's a whole frontier, and both in that way and in the the types of movies we might see. Yeah. I actually haven't seen The Shift yet, but that was an example of like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah. Like they're taking I
haven't seen it either. I need to check it out. Yeah,
but taking this sort of fantasy sci-fi idea and spinning it into this original concepts. It's ironic too to say all of this because it's true, but one of the biggest flagship movies of Christian film and TV was The Passion of the Christ, which is a hard R rating.
Yes. Yes.
Recently, a friend of mine showed me the movie Silence by, are you familiar?
I'm not. No.
It's Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
It made it in 2016.
Okay.
Andrew Garfield is the main lead with Adam Driver and Liam Neeson.
Okay.
It's about Portuguese Jesuit missionaries to Japan in the 1600s.
Yes. That young man, Andrew, he played in oh my God, it was a war film. I forget what it was.
And I wouldn't know it. Oh shoot, Hamburger Hill.
No, not Hamburger Hill. It was the guy that fought the war without a weapon.
Yeah. That's not the name of the movie. That was the name of the spot. Oh shoot! I'm gonna know it as soon as we finish this.
It's okay. I
know exactly what you're talking about.
I know who he's and I know the film you're talking about. I haven't seen it. What's the name of it again?
It's called Silence.
I would like to see it. I need to see that.
It is, and it's interesting to say, it's Martin Scorsese. It's not somebody out there making generally Christian movies. I do understand that he, his background was Catholic, and he's made other movies that have dipped into Christianity and religion before. I've not seen all of them. I'm not making any comment on anything there. I just saw this one movie, and first off, it is rated R, 0 cursing, 0 sex. Really not that violent. We are starting, just anybody watching this, we are talking about an R-rated movie, but it's not any bit gratuitous. There's not that much. It is heavy material. I mean, you can throw weight on, serious weight on your audience without putting any R-rated material on the screen.
100%.
So it's a heavy movie. It's very, very well done. It's one of the most challenging movies. I mean, I was very uncomfortable by the end of it. Not uncomfortable like I'd seen something I shouldn't have seen, but it's asking questions that are, and kind of part of the point of it is that the questions are not easily answered questions, despite how big and important they are.
Right.
And so I found it to be one of the most challenging movies in general that I've seen in a while, let alone I don't know if I should be slow to call it a Christian movie or not, but I mean, I think Christians should watch it. I think it's asking questions that are relevant to us. I found it challenging, and that's what we look for.
And I totally agree with you, and I think that that's what the faith-based world is needing. I mean, Martin Scorsese is not in the faith-based fold,
Right.
what if you will, but he's making a great point. Mel Gibson made probably the greatest faith-based film of all time, The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah,
and I think those that are in the faith-based filmmaking world, we're getting there. And we have more loosening up to do, and sort of maybe more getting over ourselves to actually convey the point I think that the world is really craving. I'm going to get off my soapbox there because I don't want to bash our faith-based brethren, because we love you. Now, that being said,
and I got to stress too, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, so many giants.
Oh my goodness!
And we owe it to appreciate each other. We really do.
We do, Carter. And I just wanted to throw that question out as we round things out, Carter. I got a couple of more questions I want to ask you. Before we do that, if you don't mind, if we step aside for our sponsor here in Brazil, MAGNOS Dentistry. And after this message, we will be right back.
Oh, hi. I'm Maurice Brown of the Maurice Brown Show, sponsored by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. As a matter of fact, I'm in Belo Horizonte, Brazil right now. Check it out. You see what I'm saying? MAGNOS Dentistry in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. I'm here for a teeth cleaning. I'm about to go in right now. Come on in. I'll show you around. Bernardo, secretary of MAGNOS Dentistry. Tudo bem? So I'm here for a teeth cleaning. Tá bom, tá bom. Obrigado. That's Portuguese for thank you. Yeah.
Maurice.
Hey, Bernardo. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, all right. Doing great, doing great. MAGNOS Dentistry. This is the head dentist, Bernardo MAGNOS. Good to see you, buddy. This is a family business, a family-owned business. Amazing place, absolutely amazing. They combine science, precision, and art.
Let's go, man.
So this is where Bernardo does his main work right here. Bernardo?
Meu consultório, né, principalmente aqui na minha clínica, a gente usa muito o atendimento humanizado. Minha família já tem tradição de mais de 40 anos da odontologia. E a gente usa do que tem de melhor em tecnologia para poder oferecer para os nossos pacientes o melhor tratamento possível. Então a gente recebe os nossos pacientes daqui e a gente também tem o prazer de receber pacientes de fora que vêm nos visitar.
Now, with over 25,000 patients treated using the best materials on the national and international markets, he just described to you, basically more or less, in Portuguese. Let's check out some more of Bernardo's cool stuff. Come on. Okay, so this is the before and after room. You come over here, you sit down, you take your picture before. Oh, terrible. And then later, hey, I'm brand new, baby. So anyway, this is a pretty cool room, before and after. Come on, we'll show you the rest of the place. Come on. Hey, the rest of Bernardo's staff, his secretaries. Qual o seu nome? Hey, você? Gianni, Maria, and Bernardo. Get to know these people a little bit better. MAGNOS Dentistry in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil.
Yeah, man, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. We've only got a few minutes remaining here, Carter, and I just want you to tell everybody out there how they can, follow you on social channels, website, and upcoming projects.
Awesome. Well, I tried to keep it as simple as I possibly could with my online presence. So everything is Carter Nelms. Go to Carter Nelms on Instagram. You can find me there. I also recently launched, there you go, carternelms.com. So my background was in software engineering, and I wanted to build my own from the ground up instead of using a site builder. So I played around with this and built this entirely using Vue.js for any of the nerds that are interested in that sort of thing.
Right.
No front end frameworks. There's really no back end to it. It's all front end for the most part. But I had a whole lot of fun making it, and you can find some of my content there: reels, videos, reviews for films, and I plan to keep it updated with news and content over time as well. As far as upcoming projects, should have a series this later this fall with Eric Estrada is the servant. I think you mentioned
Yes.
Kevin Sorbo. Yeah, and some other very cool people that is supposed to be picking back up. Hoping for that one to follow through, because I've been really excited with this one, and we're pumped and ready to go. It's got a lot of cool things going for it. It's going to be an action show, and talking about Christian shows that are really made for a secular audience, that is what this one is designed to be. So we've got a lot of high hopes for that as its purpose in the world. The next place you can most likely see me, there is a film, another one you mentioned at the beginning was Young Warriors with Jeremy Piven. That actually just recently found out is going to be on Angel in October.
Oh, nice.
So watch out for
Awesome.
it there. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, actor Carter Nelms on the Maurice Brown Show, brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry. Carter and I had an opportunity to co-star together in a film that I wrote and directed last year called Chance. We're on the festival circuit right now. We were nominated for Best Short Film at Content Christian Media, and that awards banquet is coming up at Capernaum Studios in Weatherford, Texas on September 25th. Doors open at 4:30 for dinner, and the show begins at 5 p.m. So keep us in prayer for that one, folks. And once we're done with the festival circuit, then we'll get it out there to the public so everybody can see it. And of course, we'll start working on the full feature-length film. Also, you can see this entire video if you're coming in late and you're like, I missed it. No, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain on kchftv.org out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, you can see the Maurice Brown Show and this interview in its entirety in approximately 2 weeks. We'll also be on Spotify tonight. If you missed it, you can also check out this interview with actor Carter Nelms. Carter, once again, thank you so much for being on the show. It's always great working with you and talking to you. You are an up-and-comer. And folks, keep this name written down somewhere. You're going to see him on the big screen on a regular basis very soon. Excellent young actor. Once again, Carter, thank you for being on the show, and may the peace of Jesus Christ continue to be with you and your family. God bless you.
Same to you, Maurice. Really appreciate it. It's been
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen. One.